it on. Sorry to disappoint you. But it is my privilege to speak with you this morning. Today is Freedom Sunday here at Hope Community Church. We do a Freedom Sunday every year, and today's the day. And we are going to be talking about human trafficking this morning for our parents online. Before I get started, I just want to let you know we are going to be talking about sensitive subjects this morning. So you might want to take a few minutes and maybe usher your children out of the room. I just want to give you a forewarning. And while you're asking your kiddos to leave, I do want to tell you that I'm going to be giving a lot of statistics this morning, especially at first. The information I've compiled comes from a variety of sources, including Covenant Eyes, Fight the New Drug, A21, and International Justice Mission. So we're excited to be partnering with the International Justice Mission again this year on Freedom Sunday. So I have a part-time job with E3 Family Solutions. I'm a facilitator with them. And I'm going to show you a video that we show high school students when we talk with them about human trafficking. Ms. Melinda? The average cost of a slave is. So what do you think the average cost of a slave is? Just think about it for a moment. There are 1-minute facts about human trafficking. Approximately 25 to 30 million people are slaves in the world today. Half of them are children. 52% of human trafficking recruiters are men, while 42% are women, 6% are both. 80% of trafficking involves sexual exploitation. Sex trafficking is one of the 3 largest criminals in the industry, only behind arms and drugs. Every continent in the world has been involved in human trafficking. 600,000 to 800,000 are trafficked across the borders. 14,000 to 17,000 are in America each year, and most occur in New York, California, Florida, and Texas. So what do you think the average cost of a slave is? The answer is $90. That's it. So if you want to traffic someone, it only costs you $90 to get them involved, and then every dollar they earn goes into your pocket. That's how easy and cheap it is to get involved. So, I want to zero in on one statistic from that video for a moment. 80% of trafficking involves sexual exploitation. I'm going to define sexual exploitation for you, but first let me throw out a few more statistics. These might hit a little closer to home. 68% of church-going men view pornography on a regular basis. 33% of church-going women view pornography on a regular basis. 1 in 5 youth pastors view porn regularly, and 1 in 7 senior pastors view it regularly. The pornography industry is a $1 billion, with a B, $billion industry. I've seen numbers ranging from $6 billion up to $97 billion, with $13 billion in the U.S. alone. The average age of exposure to porn is 9, with 46% of those kiddos being exposed on accident. That means your child, your 9-year-old child or grandchild, is on the internet for whatever reason, social media, research for school, you name it, and they unintentionally stumble on a pornographic video. 93% of boys and 62% of girls will be exposed to pornography by the age of 18. Now, why am I talking about pornography? What does that have to do with human trafficking? Well, I want to look at the link between porn and human trafficking before I talk specifically about International Justice Mission and their role. So this information might be feeling a little heavy, and it should, really. But hang with me. I'm also going to give some uplifting information and remind us of the God who has the answers. So human trafficking is modern-day slavery. It's buying and selling humans. It's objectification. Traffickers turn people into products or commodities. Sex trafficking is when victims are exploited for sexual purposes. Right now, right here, people are being illegally traded. They're being recruited, controlled, and used through deception, force, and coercion. In the church today, we're not talking about the link between pornography and sex trafficking for several reasons. One is the link just isn't known. Two, it's ignored. Or three, it's misunderstood. So a popular misconception is that most of the people featured in pornographic videos fully understood their choice to get involved. They willingly chose that profession with excitement, and they're loving every minute of it. But those assertions are false. Most people involved in it are deceived, coerced, or they were forced into the industry by false job advertisements, or they were sold by their family members, even their parents. They were lured in by fake boyfriends on social media. They were abducted, or they were trafficked by a friend or some other means. So at E3, we tell our students here, even in Florida, to be aware of people they don't know friending them on social media or an online game. Melinda's going to bring up a slide that we use when we're at the schools to talk about Romeo pimps and grooming. A Romeo pimp is someone who sets up a fake profile and grooms their victims by sweet-talking them and earning their trust. Then they fill a need, usually some emptiness or void that the victim feels. They isolate them, and they get them hooked on drugs. And it's only after they've lured them away from their families and bribed them or some other way made them dependent upon them that they begin the abuse and the exploitation. By this time, the victim feels helpless and hopeless, and they can't see a way out. Thanks, Melinda. The only reason these people are in business, the only reason the porn industry exists is because there's a demand for it. Porn fuels sex trafficking, and sex trafficking fuels porn. There's your link. There's other links, but I don't have time to get into those this morning. So one other slide, Melinda, that we show our children, kiddos in the high school is this slide. If you suspect someone is being trafficked or someone is a trafficker, then you can text this number, 233-733, just text help. So it's always good to get this information out there, and I've seen posters around when we're traveling, so it's great for you to have that number memorized. If you see something, go ahead and text that number on human trafficking. Just like I said, that is happening here in Florida. All right, I'd like to now turn your attention to an organization that's making a difference in the industry. International Justice Mission is a global organization partnering with local justice systems to end violence against people living in poverty. They rescue and restore victims, bringing them to safety and walking alongside them until they're restored. They bring criminals to justice by relentlessly pursuing justice in court. And they strengthen justice systems by providing training, mentoring, and support to police, judges, and other community leaders. So we're going to talk about Liana this morning. Here's a picture of Liana. I want to tell you a story about Liana. She's a survivor from the Dominican Republic in Latin America. When Liana was young, her mother often abused drugs and alcohol, so Liana went to live with her grandparents. But when Liana was 14, her mother reconnected with her and asked her to move back in with her. Things appeared to be going well, so Liana agreed. Well, almost overnight, Liana's mother began to sell her to men for sex. Liana's stepfather was a truck driver. He took Liana with him on his trips, selling her to men along the way. Eventually, her stepfather's boss, who they called Tito, smuggled Liana into his home as a child bride. It was there that Liana met the lady who helped her escape this trauma. Tito's mother began asking questions, and when Liana told her of her plight, Tito's mother ordered Tito to return Liana to her grandparents. Once back with her grandparents, Liana told them what had happened to her. She had spent 5 months being sexually and physically abused, and she was devastated. Her grandfather bravely reported the crime to local authorities, despite the fact that Liana's mother threatened to kill him. Within weeks, the local authorities arrested Liana's mother and brought in IJM. International Justice Mission's legal team worked with local prosecutors to put her captors on trial. The fugitive husband, who was missing for more than a year, finally was arrested. Liana was taken to a safe house run by IJM's partners. Her aftercare team provided counseling and trauma-focused therapy. Her long journey of healing is ongoing. She's been there 2 years, and Liana is able to dream again. In fact, she dreams of one day becoming a lawyer, a doctor, or a psychologist. Liana says, with therapy, I've been able to overcome what happened to me. I think I have a big future ahead of me. Now, I can see myself caring for children like a pediatrician. I'd like you to pray with Liana with me. I've given out prayer cards that came from International Justice Mission. They're out your seat. So one's about Liana, one's about just Latin America in general. So take those home and pray with me in agreement for these children and Liana. So I applaud International Justice Mission and the impact that they're making around the world. Since 1998, they've rescued more than 3,800 women and children from trafficking. And there have been nearly 700 pimps and traffickers arrested since 2002. They're giving dignity and honor back to women and children like Liana. People who've been formerly thought of as products, just a way to make money, now believe they have worth. They know they're precious and they're valuable. When someone reaches out to another in need, that person feels elevated. It gives them hope, and that's what IJM is doing. So let's read about another person, someone in the Bible that received help in their time of need. So turn with me to Luke 10, and we're going to read about the Good Samaritan. So there's Bibles in front of you. You can bring it up on your YouVersion Bible app, or it will be up on the screen if you prefer. So we're going to start in verse 25. So Luke 10, beginning in verse 25. And behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live. But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Jesus replied, A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him pass by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he set him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii, and he gave them to the innkeeper, saying, Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay when I come back. Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers? He said, The one who showed him mercy. And Jesus said to him, You go and do likewise. So I'd like to walk through the various characters in the story of the Good Samaritan and the roles that they play within this story. First, there's the man, the victim. He was just minding his own business, walking down the road, when he was accosted by some robbers. This man represents victims around the world like Liana, innocent women and children who are tricked into slavery or stolen for trafficking purposes. I'd like you to remember that like this man, they did not purposely choose to get involved. I think this man also represents those who have gotten caught up in pornography, those trapped by the grip of porn, not something they intended. Then there are the robbers. These are the people who physically beat our victim. But I think they took more than the man's clothes. I believe they inflicted deeper wounds than just the physical. I think these robbers, aptly labeled, robbed the man of his guilt, of his honor and his dignity. And I think when they left him half dead, that he was left feeling hopeless. These robbers represent human traffickers and those fueling the porn industry, the slave labor industry. People like Liana's mother and stepfather. These people are robbing their victims, like Liana, of dignity, self-worth, and in some cases, hope. The passage then turns toward the others on the road who were passing by the victim. But before I look at those characters, I got to thinking about that road and how many people traveled on it. Maybe it was somewhat of a deserted road, so no one saw that the man was being robbed. I mean, maybe hours passed before anyone came along, but I wonder, if there were some on the road while it was going on, while the man was being robbed, while he lay there beaten, and they just didn't see him. Maybe they didn't see him because they weren't looking. The Bible doesn't say that, so I'm just speculating at this point. But if the road was busy, that could have happened. Those people would represent those of us who have for years not known about human trafficking and haven't known about the depths of the porn industry. So what about those first two bystanders, the Levite and the priest? Why did they pass by on the other side? Maybe they didn't want to be bothered. Maybe they were in a hurry to get to their destination. Maybe they didn't feel like they could really make a difference. Maybe they didn't want to get their hands dirty. Maybe they thought it was too late, that the victim was already dead. These two bystanders represent those of us who choose not to fully understand the gravity of modern-day slavery. Those of us who do understand its impact, but feel too helpless to do anything. Or maybe we're too busy, or we don't want to be bothered. Or maybe we don't want to get our hands dirty. Liana's grandparents could have chosen that route. They could have decided it was too hard to get involved, that it was too risky. But I'm grateful that they didn't take that easy position. So now we come to the Samaritan. The Good Samaritan, the star of our story, the one who shows compassion. He chose to stop, to get involved, to assess the situation, and to do something about it. He intervened. But before I list all the great things the Good Samaritan did to help the victim, let me tell you what he did not do. The Good Samaritan did not chase the robbers. He didn't leave the man bleeding and take off after those who committed the crime. It wasn't the time or the place for that. The Good Samaritan didn't waste precious time worrying about the robbers. He was motivated by compassion, not anger. This tells me he understood his strengths and his weaknesses. He knew his limitations, but he also acted on his abilities. The Good Samaritan protected the man, just like Liana's grandfather protected her. Just like we're called to protect those in our household. The Good Samaritan cared for this man's immediate physical needs, then took him to a safe place to bring about full restoration. Again, he recognized he had limited resources out on the road. So he put the man on his donkey and he transported him to a place that had the resources required for him to be restored. Besides taking care of the man's physical needs, I think the Good Samaritan gave the man hope and a reason to live just by showing compassion and mercy. He reached out to the man and therefore elevated him and gave him hope. The Good Samaritan was willing to be inconvenienced. He probably had some place to be that day, just like the Levite and the priest, yet he paid attention to his surroundings. He stopped when something was amiss, and he detoured from his intended destination to take care of someone in need. And so should we. Now, I don't think the list of characters ends there. Even though the Good Samaritan is the star of the story, there's one other person I'd like to give a nod to. The innkeeper. The innkeeper ran the inn where the Good Samaritan took the man. The inn was a place to receive shelter. The inn was a place of refuge for the hurt man, a place he could stay until he was healed. I think the inn itself represents safe houses for trafficking victims, like the place that Liana lives. I think the inn represents our homes, the places where our children should live without fear and danger. The inn represents filters on our internet, so our children don't accidentally stumble onto pornographic images. And it was the innkeeper the Good Samaritan turned to and said, "Take care of him." What? I mean, I don't care how much money you pay me. I don't want you dumping some wounded guy on my doorstep and saying, take care of him until he feels better. I'm not going to do that. But the innkeeper did. He did it. He not only provided a place for the man to stay, he took care of him. The innkeeper was a necessary ally for the Good Samaritan. That innkeeper reminds me of those that we need to join in our battle for justice. The innkeeper is International Justice Mission, who builds safe houses and supports the local justice systems. We're the Good Samaritan, handing over our denarii saying, take care of Liana, and take care of other women and children like Liana. We want modern-day slavery to end. I think the innkeeper represents the fact that we can't do this alone. Your pastor can't fight this fight on his own. Your church cannot solve this problem. We can only stop the demand and therefore the industry together. There's one last person I want to mention. It's the storyteller, Jesus. Jesus is the one who says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus is the one who answers the question, and who is my neighbor? We can be storytellers too. We can help spread the word about human trafficking and porn and the effect it's having in our homes and on society. And we can spread the good news. We can offer hope and dignity to those who feel lost and helpless. So just a quick sum up on the points that I want you to remember from today's message. 1, Melinda, slavery still exists in the form of human trafficking. 2, sexual exploitation is taking place now, even in the United States. 3, porn fuels the demand for sex trafficking. And 4, we can stop slavery and help those enslaved. So you might be wondering, well, how can I get involved? So here are 4 call to action points that I'd like you to consider. 1, stop the demand. If you or someone in your household is struggling with pornography, please talk with one of the pastors, talk with me, talk with a trusted friend. There's no shame in admitting that this is a problem, and we're here to help you. 2, add filters to your internet and devices, especially if you have children and grandchildren in your home. If you want to know what that means and how to do it, talk with Pastor Don or me. We'd be glad to tell you how to do that. 3, communicate and educate. Be a storyteller. Be willing to talk about these issues. And lastly, support an organization like International Justice Mission. They are making it very easy for you to get involved. Let's bring up the last slide, Melinda. If you want to get involved, if you want to give to IJM, we've made it very easy for you, and so have they. For $24 a month, you can become a Freedom Partner with IJM. If you decide to become a Freedom Partner by the end of September, your monthly gift is going to be doubled by up to $500,000 for an entire year. So we've distributed envelopes to you. You should have them in your seats. If you don't have one next to you, stop at the welcome table. You can put a one-time gift, or you can say you want to become a Freedom Partner by filling out that form on there, putting a check in there or cash, and put it in the box, and we will make sure it gets to IJM. We've made it easy online. There should be a link on your on Facebook on how to go directly to ijm.org/LianaFP, and you can just join directly with them. We also have a line item on our giving portal on our website. So if you go to our giving portal, text the number or go to our website, you can bring up International Justice Mission, and you can give all the way till the end of the month, and we will make sure that they get that money. So I really appreciate you allowing me to get up here and give the message today. I'm going to invite Pastor Don up here to pray for Liana and International Justice Mission.